Okay, Derpy is here, which means it's quite obviously the best time to try and max skills that you don't really like. Of course, we know Derpy gives us 50% more skill XP, so we might as well take advantage of that. And while sure you can max alchemy relatively quickly and inexpensively during Derpy, carpentry is much easier too, pretty much everything's much easier to level. However, a lot of people opt for foraging because it is quite obviously, it is foraging. Do I need to explain? Now, the issue we have with foraging during Derpy is that a lot of people forage during Derpy, of course, to get it over with quicker. However, when you go to a foraging island like the park and go over to what's supposed to be really the most efficient tree to mine or farm, and that's the dark oak, you've got loads of people already farming the trees, meaning that you can't really properly farm because you're constantly running around trying to find a tree that isn't broken. In fairness, only 2 people farming the whole dark oak forest isn't too bad. But the reality is not only is this ridiculously tedious, it's going to take you so long to get anywhere near max foraging. About 10 minutes ago, I made a video where I foraged for 24 hours, and this was over the period of a week, and granted this was painful, it was doable. But I didn't really get very far at all. I gained barely anything, and also, I barely got any coins. And I must have enjoyed it so much that I decided to take it to the next level. 7 months ago, I foraged for 24 hours straight on a live stream. I definitely did actually go fully insane. It wasn't the most enjoyable experience of my life. Foraging is boring enough as it is. Despite all of my efforts, I still only sit at foraging 38. And one thing you should know is getting from 0 to 38 is around about the same, if not even less, than getting from 38 to 50. So, I'm nowhere near. Honestly, the rates in the park are that bad, there's no point even calculating them. But in case you're curious, these were my rates from when I foraged for 24 hours. Okay, so this is the foraging XP that will be finishing on 12,844,934. So that means in 24 hours we've gained 10,479,495 XP. I don't know if that's actually really that good. In terms of skill levels, we started on 24, I believe, and that's taken us to around about just less than halfway to 34. And with some rough calculations, we made around about 416,000 foraging XP per hour, which isn't very good. To get from foraging 0 all the way to foraging 50, you require just over 55 million foraging XP. Meaning that from just straight up running around in the park, it would take you around about 132 hours actively to actually max foraging. That's of course with a good tree cap, pet swapping, and all the rest. Now that is too long, but realistically, what are your other options? Well, what if I told you that there was a method where you can get between 1.2 to 1.5 million foraging XP per hour? Granted, this is during Derpy. But first, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS, it gets yourself 5% off. Also, you should subscribe to the channel, we're going for 100k subscribers before the end of next year, so it's going to be difficult, but we can do it. Make sure to subscribe. And also join the Discord server, it's linked in the description of this video. We offer slayers and dungeon carries, so if you need carries, or want to carry and make some coins, make sure to join. Now sure, there are relatively AFK methods where you can max foraging. It may take you probably over 100 hours with Derpy. I know Ben Clark made a pretty good video about that a while back, maybe even close to a year ago now. And 100 hours AFK is, yeah, it's better than having to actually run around the park and take in the same amount of time. But instead, you could build this contraption. This is what I like to call a foraging machine, because it kind of is. So what do we actually have? Well, first of all, we have dirt, so we can grow trees. We've got water in this corner. We've got some trapdoors. We've got some droppers, chests. We've got hoppers, redstone torches, redstone repeaters. Let me explain. Now, honestly, I'm not the greatest at redstone, so this might not be the greatest explanation you've ever heard, but all you need to know is it works. Here we have droppers. Now, these droppers are going to provide you with all the items that you need to forage, i.e. the saplings and the enchanted bone meal. This here redstone repeater is going to basically detect when a tree has been broken, therefore knowing when you need more materials. The chests and the hoppers connected to the droppers are just there so you can store more items so you don't have to keep refilling. And the idea essentially is that you can just kind of sit here and cycle through a few different items in your inventory, get into a bit of a rhythm, and it's just really efficient foraging. You don't have to open menus to buy more saplings or anything like that, because this whole contraption is devised so that you don't need to do that. This little blob is here just so you don't go too far, so it doesn't take you too long to kind of revert back to this position. Of course, for maximum efficiency, ideally you're going to need auto pet rules with a monkey pet and also an ocelot pet. You're going to need a tree capitator, and essentially you want your foraging wisdom to be as high as possible. So, the idea is that you place the saplings down, bone meal, and do you see, as soon as the tree grew, we got our items replenished. There is 4 droppers set up with saplings because there's 4 saplings that we're placing, and 1 dropper set up with enchanted bone meal because we're using 1 enchanted bone meal. And then we can just kind of break the tree cap. Now, you've got to be careful, because right there actually broke the repeater, and if you break the repeater, that means that basically the droppers aren't going to know when to replenish your items, therefore they're just not going to. So it's important that you essentially get the right angle set up for this. Now, I am terrible at doing things like this. My efficiency with this is not great. It can be way, way better. But the idea is that, of course, using the auto pet rule, in between each time that you've used your tree cap, you right click, your fishing rod comes out, your monkey pet is equipped, therefore it's reducing the cooldown of your tree capitator, and then when you get a tree again, and then bone meal it, and then use your tree cap, it's going to switch back to the ocelot, so you gain foraging wisdom when you hit it. Now, of course, you're not really going to want to be using an epic ocelot and an epic monkey. You're going to need legendary, because the legendary monkey is the only monkey that gives you the tree cap reduction, and the legendary ocelot is just going to be better because it's going to actually give you more foraging wisdom, both at level 100. Now, honestly, the easiest way to do this is set up some keybinds. Get the correct angle to a point where you can essentially just hold right click down and cycle through the things in your inventory. I have no problem at all admitting that, well, number one, this isn't even my machine design. I was provided this machine design by the player that you see on the screen right now, actually, Lul8421, from my Discord server, so thank you for this, because this is really cool. And second of all, he really has got it down to a T. Now, he's got it to a point where he doesn't even need to move his mouse. It's just a case of holding right click and then binding some hotkeys up so you can just flick through the different items in your inventory. I think he said that he uses like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it's just whatever works for you, really. But you can really get a feel for how efficient this is, because look how quickly he's able to place, grow, and farm trees. Also, while rod swapping, it's actually kind of crazy. If you compare that to how quickly you can basically go from tree to tree in the park, there's no competition at all. There's a few things you need to watch out for. Things like if you still have your foraging sack on you, every time you get saplings, they're probably going to go into the foraging sack, and you're going to be kind of left wondering why you're running out of saplings when you're actually being given them. Also, I think the main thing to note is the more that you actually do this, i.e. the more that you get into a rhythm, the more you get your keybind set up correctly, the more efficient it's going to become. If you're wondering about rates, when you have everything configured properly, you should be gaining around about 1.2 to 1.5 million foraging XP per hour. And of course, this is with Derpy. Now, if we consider that it's 55 million foraging XP to get from 0 all the way to 50, say we divide 55 by 1.5, that gets us 36.6, so around about 37 hours if you constantly do it. Well, let's assume that you can only obtain, I don't know, 1.2 million XP an hour. That's still only 45 hours, which is substantially lower than doing it pretty much any other way. Well, how about you can only get 1 million XP per hour? Well, it's still only going to take 55 hours, and when you compare that to foraging in the park, yeah, it's substantially better. Let me let you know that when I did that foraging in the park, it was also derpy, so kind of puts it into perspective. Anyway, try this out, let me know what you think. It should be more efficient than going to the park and contending with everything. This contraption took me around about 5 or 10 minutes to build. If you are struggling to maybe build it, then you can visit me on my banana profile. There's a teleport pad. Just let me show you, because people always get confused. You'll spawn in somewhere around here, and there's a teleporter pad right here. And you can teleport to this bit of the island, and it's right here. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.